Welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. Today we're going to do the November wrap. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Well, I said in our October wrap that I would have been happy to have the election behind us based on the fact that it created a lot of procrastination of people saying, hey, we want to wait and see how the election happens. Now, don't get me wrong, is that as soon as the election was over, there was a little bit of a pop that we did notice across all of the properties that we have. So, for example, we did South Carolina, we did California was mostly probably about 90% of everything else, to be honest. We had, Colorado and Arizona, but mostly in California, we did see a bit of a pop and a bit of a rise in activity through properties. We definitely didn't see the onslaught of offers or people making final decisions or anything along those lines. People were still relatively cautious. Now, obviously, the news came with a 25 basis point reduction in the interest rates, but the talks of inflation for next year definitely mean that I don't believe that the interest rates will be dropping too much. Now, these are just common conversations that a lot of us are having behind the scenes at the moment. I think that there's a common trait that that most people are asking me, is now an okay time to sell? I believe that it is okay because there's a lot of inventory coming off the market because of the holiday season. However, November as a whole for us, it was an incredibly great financial month for us, but volume of deals was down. It was just the price points were up. Just to name a few, we had like a $4.6 million. We had a $3.8 million. We had a $3 million. We had a $5.7 million. Obviously, along with some of the ones that are like, for example, going down the list, 650, 500, 700, 800. 837, 930, 630, 955. So you see a lot of the lower end deals there as well, still moving. But the reality was, it was interesting to see that in November, a lot of those bigger deals closing. Now, that was from obviously previous activity. 30 days is usually the lag with the numbers in that sense. But just a couple of standout examples of what we saw through this month. In perspective to just case studies, San Francisco, the Bay Area was definitely the shining star when it came to our California. That's where a lot of the large price point stuff came from. For example, a property at 1015 Francisco Street in San Francisco. Augie is the listing agent on that property. Bidding to start from on that property was at $3 million, selling for 3,850. Now, this is a property that had been, it was a home, had multiple tenanted situations. The tenant laws are very difficult in San Francisco in order to remove those people. It was a property that definitely needed to be remodeled completely throughout, but it was an entire building where there were several floors that were rented out. Been trying to sell this one, I believe it was for about 18 months, on and off marketplace, changing strategies, changing everything. The auction process obviously brought the investors to the equation as well. That's one of the things that people typically mistaken when it comes to the auction process. They think that the opportunist investors, flippers, are the only ones that come. Over 93% of our properties sell to primary end users. Now, that just speaks to the factor of the people that we're operating with being, single family homes typically selling to primary end users. But in this situation, it helped us bring not only the investors into this situation, but also the flippers and remodelers because they see the word auction. Now, usually those people would be used as leverage against the more emotional purchaser, but there was nothing really emotional about this property itself. So that's interesting. Like, for example, we've got a property coming up in LA shortly. It's just off the back of Venice Beach. And it's funny, they said to me, why is auction better in this sense is because it's a possible development, but somebody could buy it for end use and just leave it and gradually develop it over a period of time based on its position. So with an auction, that'll attract both parties in to see who is the actual best in competition, attracting the entire marketplace. A shout out to Mary McPherson out of San Francisco as well. This is a condo. It was in Nob Hill. Okay, so a really good area of San Francisco. It's not in some of the ones that have the PR problems of the homeless and everything along those lines, but it was in a difficult building. It was a co-op. It wasn't a co-op building. It was a building that was run like a co-op, just different assessments and things along those lines. Was getting no attraction whatsoever on the property. Previously on the marketplace at $749, and bidding to start from, we put it at $650 and end up selling it for $750. So again, a really good outcome. Just needed that added activity and attraction to the property. But everything I believe that we did in the month of November, just confirming, yes, everything was previously on the marketplace and converted over traditional. So that's 100% previously on the marketplace as traditional and converted over to an auction midway through that listing. That is an example of, the traditional process that's definitely not provoking the marketplace enough to make decisions. Because I can guarantee you that on all of these properties, that if you let the buyers make the decisions in their own timely manner, they would have probably chosen to wait and see. Whereas if taking it away from them was definitely there. Property in Emerald Hills, bidding to start from on that property was 3.6 million, selling for $3,890,000. That sold after auction. So it was a negotiation with a party after auction. We had a property that was previously listed on the marketplace with. This was on and off the marketplace. This is in Monterey. Okay, this property here was with Brian Schaefer in Monterey. It was on the marketplace previously, but it was for a period of time before it came back. I'd probably classify it from a reset perspective as a new listing to market, but it was on and off with a couple of other realtors locally, bidding to start from it was at 2.5 million, selling for $3 million. Brian Schaefer doing a great job with that. It was a difficult divorce situation that ultimately ended up having to negotiate with both parties and allowing the market to speak to both parties through auction, letting them watch the live auction itself was the only way that we brought that together 2 days after the auction, because they couldn't argue with offers or someone holding back information or anything along those lines. So when there's multiple decision makers, that is definitely where something that we should look at as well. 167th Avenue in San Leandro, which is on the east bay of the Bay Area. Jenny Yee is the listing agent on that one, bidding to start from at 700, selling for 850,000. Another one of those ones, as it is, I feel like a broken record here, guys. I'm just using a sluggish traditional out of the gates because the price was too high. We then put it as an auction, bidding to start from 700, end up achieving more than what it was previously listed at $850,000. But again, there's a lot of different elements here as well. Final one that I will make mention of, just because of the situation, is a really good outcome. Is 16th Avenue, San Francisco. This Cynthia Cummins was one of our original Bay Area agents up there. We did a great auction with her originally in the Visadero down in the marina. It was one of those ones that was traditionally listed, had multiple offers on the property. Traditionally, we converted over to an auction just to really let the traditional offers speak and end up getting, in excess of $250,000 more than what the offer's highest and best was previously. But the property at 16th Avenue in San Francisco, this one was on the marketplace with her and her partner Lisa, and it was on the marketplace traditionally. It was listed at $4 million, which they had mentioned was probably a little high. Seller was very emotionally attached, had gone through and done a complete remodel, but it's also a pretty high price point for that area itself. And it wasn't in Pacific Heights or anything along those lines with those price points. So what we needed to do, we put a bidding to start from at $3,280,000. And we end up selling for $3,810,000. Seller very, very happy with the outcome. Knew his price was high in the beginning, but needed to go through the process of elimination, traditionally converted over, ended up getting it done with a buyer that hadn't been looking in that area. They'd come from another area that agents were showing them and saw the value for money there. And it's the view, one of those attraction points of getting that person into the house, appealing to their logic, oh, this could be a really good deal, and then getting them in there, and it was definitely an emotional purchase at that point. But November, a great month financially, deal count lower, there's no question. But that being said, coming into December, how have we seen November react from a listing perspective? There's a lot of people still waiting and still seeing. There's no doubt about it. The people that are coming to market at the moment are definitely set on trying to sell their property by the end of the year, but there's less people that are doing that. You've got a lot of people that are keeping their properties and waiting till the new year that are going to be selling and taking their properties off the market. I've cautioned this on many of the other episodes that we've done, is that I really do believe that's going to create an inventory problem next year. I hope I'm wrong. We want the marketplace to really fire next year, but I think that there's some leading indicators that it's probably not going to be as buoyant, and it's going to be maybe a little bit more tumultuous than what we thought. Not going to be bad. I just think that it's just not going to be what we all hope it to be. However, that being said, is that hopefully it's setting up for inventory levels to build. We definitely have the least number of auctions in December that we've had for quite some years. Usually December is a much larger or more robust year, even including previous election years when I've gone back and had a look at the inventory that we're carrying. So I think that, definitely inventory is definitely being down. Volume of transactions is definitely down across the board, regardless of where you are. Okay. Even some of those more inbound states, I get to monitor Oregon quite a lot. And Oregon still seems to be doing quite well, but it is definitely doing less, and average days on marketplace are up. I was speaking to somebody in Portland the other day, just outside of Portland in an area, more so in Clackamas area. They've got some very, very affordable real estate in a new development, and they're just not seeing anybody come into them whatsoever. And these are around the $600,000 to $700,000 price point. So that's probably a little bit of a telltale sign that things are definitely paused at the moment. Obviously, coming out of the week of Thanksgiving is that, everything does feel a little bit stale for a week or so as we get through that holiday transition. Let's see how December comes out. But all in all, I'm very happy to be concluding this year of 2024 and getting into 2025. Hopefully people will stop using the end of the year as an excuse, saying, oh, no, we're just waiting to see what happens next year so that we can get some finite decisions made from people. It seems to, like I said, be that excuse at the moment. But again, keep moving forward. Keep pushing. If you need any help with any of your listings whatsoever at the moment to try and get a conclusion by the end of the year, please reach out to us. Happy to help. Thank you. So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.